All right, North Korea has made it very, very clear it's not going to stop. In fact, insisting it will never stop testing nuclear weapons. To former Army Vice Chief of Staff General Jack Keane, what he makes of that. I was telling people earlier, and we were discussing at a dinner last night, this idea of a black swan event out of nowhere, something that shifts your attention away from what everyone is talking about to the very real threat in this case of something crazy going down in Asia, and more specifically in North Korea, and that it could happen. Where are we headed with this thing?
Well, it certainly is a dangerous situation, and the senators came close to that yesterday. I think we've got three options that we're working on. One is diplomatic, and we've ladled the diplomatic football to the Chinese, but we're also working with South Korea and Japan to reassure them, to steady them, and particularly South Korea, Neil, because political instability there, the president was impeached, there's a new election coming, and our government is very concerned that the newly elected president may be a little soft on North Korea and be willing to make some accommodations. That's one of our concerns. Right. The other option is economic options. And what the president and his national security team are doing are preparing a number of economic sanctions against North Korea and possibly even against China if they don't come through. If China is just gaming us, and there's nothing that indicates that right now, but if that's what happens and they don't produce any results, then this administration is pretty tough-minded in terms of dealing with China also. And then the third thing... But
there's a time horizon on that real quickly, right?
But yeah, they're going to let China do what it needs to do.
Okay.
And hopefully they'll...
But don't string us along, right?
Yeah, right, because they have done that in the past. And then the third thing is military options. Now, those were not discussed with the senators yesterday because we don't want that to come out in public. But we do have military options to deal with this regime. But that would...
Such as like shooting a missile down, right?
Yeah, but we just can't shoot the missile down because what would happen is he would invade the South. So what we would...
Even if we shot it
he would start shooting
water.
Rockets and artillery down.
Okay.
On the South Koreans. And we had about 130, 150,000 people live in Seoul, Americans. But what we would have to do with a military portfolio is not just shoot this down. We'd have to take down their artillery and rockets because that's what they would fire on the people in Seoul. We'd have to destroy his nuclear sites because we don't want him using a nuclear bomb.
China would never allow that.
And we would have to go to Pyongyang with a strike and take down the regime leadership as much as we possibly could.
What do you think China would think of that? It would obviously come to its defense.
We are talking, if we have to take a military option, North Korea would start a war with South Korea. And we have to recognize that. So if we're going to take that military option, the option can't be just against a launch facility, against a missile. We have to take down as much as we can to minimize the impact of North Korea going to war.
Apparently, we never ceased hostilities after the Korean War.
It's an armistice.
Right. So, which I guess explains why we still have 50,000 whatever troops there and all. Do you see it possibly escalating to that, or because the pressure really seems on the Chinese, you have got to control this guy?
Well, I don't see Kim Jong-un firing at our carrier group that's there, firing at any ships, because they know that would mean the destruction of the regime. After all, his grandfather and father got nuclear weapons for one reason only, to preserve the regime so they could stay in power. That's what's so mystifying about why is he developing ballistic missiles that would go outside of the peninsula.
But you're right, it's kept him in power, kept the family in power.
That's right.
Yeah, without that, people would wake up and say, hey, we're starving here.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
General, thank you very, very much.